the less approachable you are, the higher in value you are. And let me explain. And I don't mean this to disrespect any woman out there, but usually the most women that are getting men in their DMs are usually the women that look approachable. And the women that look approachable usually dress a certain way and look a certain way. And I'm not saying that dressing a certain way makes you what they think you are.
You don't know what words mean, do you?
As an intergalactic bounty hunter who moonlights as a man who must apply logic to the ramblings of modern women, I think it's kind of embarrassing for you that I have to be the one to explain this. But value, attention, and being approachable are three completely different concepts that you epically botched. You see, value, when it comes to relationships, implies that you can add something onto a man's life, and this typically comes in the form of peace, warmth, and respect. Getting attention does not imply value. It just means that Chad and simps find you bangable, so they're willing to send you text messages on a dating app. And being approachable has nothing to do with getting that attention online. It's presenting yourself in a way that makes self-respecting men want to see if there's a future with you. And it's not the same thing. This is why an average-looking woman who's feminine, kind, and has a low body count will typically be preferred to by most self-respecting men, as opposed to some broad with a superiority complex because the number of text messages she gets in her DMs.
But usually, when you are, for example, protecting yourself more, in the corner more, not showing off your body, men are actually intimidated by you because they know that you're harder to get. So if you're not being approached a lot, that's not a problem. That doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. Remember, cheap products always have more people wanting it because it's cheap.
I hate to break it to you, sister, but self-respecting men want quality products at affordable prices. Let's take a car, for example. The first car he sees on the lot is an old, beaten-up Chevy Nova. Now, the price on this guy is fairly low, but that's because it's rusty, the seats are worn out, it's got high mileage, the oil needed to be changed 8,000 miles ago, the brakes, the shocks, and the tires need replacing, it has a cassette tape deck that'll eat tapes within the first 5 seconds, and a radio that'll only work if you angle your head in just the right direction, but that's only if you have metal fillings. But at the moment, it runs, and like I said, the price is very low. However, on that same lot, there's a 2014 Toyota Camry. It's oldish, but it's in better shape. The tires are almost new, the brakes work just fine, and it has a CD player. The drawback is it might cost a little bit more, but it's still something that the buyer can afford. Which one do you think the guy's going to buy? And just so there's no confusion, the description of the Chevy Nova is the modern woman, which is not only a surprisingly apt description, but it's also proof that the intergalactic space god Flubleford, all hail, is truly a wondrous pine-fresh entity. He's finally allowed me to use a running gag in a practical context. Life sure is a rich tapestry sometime. All hail!
Amen.
Here's why the guy should always pay for the first date. Okay, so it's pre-date and post-date expenses. I'm gonna start with pre-date. Guys, post-date, a lot more taxing. But the pre-date are pretty self-explanatory and they're probably unique to each person. These are the things a woman goes through to feel the most confident on a date. I don't wanna hear in the comments, like if this hits the wrong algorithm. We don't ask you to do those things. I don't give a f. You've been conditioned, and to feel most comfortable, we're gonna do these things. It's making sure your nails are done. You like the way your hair looks. Taking the time to shave. It's the cost of an Uber. Last time I did something like this, somebody was like, no, the guy's coming to pick me up. I don't know how safe that is. I'd prefer to take the Uber and I'd prefer to have it on my account. It's the lack of feeling of safety when you're meeting a guy for the first time. Teeth whitening. It's the time, resources, energy. I love getting ready, but like, girls know, getting ready for a first date, having the outfit, feeling confident, there are steps involved.
Give me some money. Give me some money.
Oh, that's where you're wrong, sister. Men aren't conditioned to want women who plaster on makeup with a trowel. I mean, sure, men do have a biological attraction to youthful beauty, and a little bit of makeup can go a long way, but we're not talking about a little rouge or some blush here. You go all out with frickin' war paint, and if it takes you a pound of intergalactic grade chemicals to feel attractive, then it means you've been conditioned to think that you're ugly, and that's not our fault, nor is it our problem. If you're going out on a date with a guy, that means you either find this guy attractive to the point where you're willing to meet him, or you're just looking for free food. Either way, it's not a business trip, and this man is under no obligation whatsoever to retroactively reimburse you for your incidentals. Nor are we responsible for covering your end of the tab because you're broke. This is the world of equality, sweetheart, and nobody rides for free anymore. So pay up or get the hell out of the way, will ya?
And here are the post-date expenses. And I need to book an emergency session with your therapist. You are going to need a back brace from carrying the conversation. And I need a ticket to a comedy show just to prove that funny men exist. It's funny, I was looking up like male comedians. I wanted to find one that was like popular but not problematic. Nearly impossible. Stop saying women aren't funny. Women are the funniest right now. I wanted to put Nikki Glaser up there. And I need a teddy bear just to save you from all the nightmares you're gonna have from what you saw growing under his fingernails. You're gonna need to drink it off with some friends. You're gonna need to like douse your whole body in mouthwash because of the esophagus kiss that he gave you at the end of the night. This is just for the pain. Right, I'm not a man hater. I don't want to hear any of that, but the dating landscape for women right now sucks. So this is just my funny take on it. I hope this hits the women's algorithm and not the men's because damn, they can't handle it. Anyway, let me know if you agree, if you disagree, if you thought I missed anything, and yeah.
Really? You're not funny.
Alright, there's always going to be exceptions to the rules, but generally speaking, women are not funny. And neither are the male quote-unquote comedians who are sensitive to your political beliefs. And that's because the best comedians are men who are unafraid to make fun of the bland and meaningless hive-minded NPC life that you live. And I gotta level with you, sweet cheeks. I have had tax meetings with Mormon accountants that were a frickin' laugh riot in comparison to you. You haven't said anything that even remotely resembles humor towards the dating world. You're blaming the men for pissing in the dating pool when you're the one who couldn't hold her bladder while dog paddling in the shallow end. There are plenty of good men out there, but you don't want them because you're too busy chasing your ibuprofen with the wine you drink while clutching your teddy bear while whining to your therapist. And that's on a good day, mind you. So let me give you a nickel's worth of free advice, lady. If you're looking for a good joke, don't bother going to a comedy club or binge watching a woman over 30 complaining about dating. Just look in the mirror. That's the funniest joke I've seen all day.
That's funny because it's so true.
It's honestly not that hard to get my attention. Like, tell me there are margaritas or wine, tell me you have tacos or Chinese food, and then tell me you're coming over. Easy.
That's why I praise the Lord for prostitutes.
So the best way to get your attention is to provide you with free food and alcohol? Well, that's no secret, lady. We already knew this. Why do you think we ignore you? The fact that you're an online avenue stroller notwithstanding, self-respecting men aren't up for paying for your meals. I mean, what's the point? You always order the most expensive thing, and I honestly think my money would be better spent on a used DVD copy of Hudson Hawk. It's one of the best movies around. This little gem was made back in that little golden era of Bruce Willis's career where he actually enjoyed working. It was only like a brief 3-year period, but it was still absolutely fantastic. He was going full-on Looney Tunes level of zany with Danny Aiello while a cross-dressing David Caruso chews up the scenery without saying a single word. And James Coburn is having a ball knowing he got to hang out in Rome and earn a paycheck for doing next to nothing. And if you need even more of a reason to watch this piece of cinematic glory, well, it only features one of the greatest actors to ever live.
You guessed it, Frank Stallone.
People love to rip this movie a new one, but if you fast forward through any scene where Andy McDowell or Sandra Bernhard are actually talking, you'll find that the enjoyment level of this movie increases by at least 82% after you adjust for inflation. And even if you don't make those fast forward moments in time, listening to their nails on chalkboard talking instead of wasting 45 minutes as a thought shoves a burrito into her gullet will be music to your ears by comparison.
There's a great conversation going online right now around decentering men, but there's a point that I want to bring up, which is gonna push back on the picture and see a larger thing that's happening that not a lot of people are talking about, which is one. Okay, so with the whole decentering men, I'm gonna talk about a stereotypical version of like Mad Men for a second first for this to make sense. So we have the man who is going to center his life and identity in working for another man. This is under capitalism, right? And so that man is going to work for that and put his whole identity in that and like family, that. The woman is going to come and then center her life around the man and the family and everything, not herself.
Wrong! That's wrong!
Today just keeps getting better and better because I finally get to cross something off of my stupid bucket list. I finally get to do a video with a legitimate spoiler alert because I'm about to talk about Mad Men. It's a series I haven't watched in its entirety, but I still know that show better than this broad. So if you haven't gotten around to watching a TV series that's been easily accessible for over a decade, then here's your spoiler alert. Okay, here we go. Don Draper did not center his life around his work as an ad executive. He centered his life around doing everything he could to keep the fact that he faked his own death and stole the identity of his dead commanding officer during the Korean War hidden from everybody he ever knew. That is why his family fell apart. It was because his entire life was centered around a massive lie, not because he was an ad executive. You should probably watch these shows instead of watching random clips and politicized video essays on the subject if you're going to use it as the opening argument for why you failed at life. It's just a suggestion.
And so then we have feminism coming in with women working, and then so women had to then center their identity in life on their family, the man, and their job, right? So they had to do so much work. Women are f***ing tired. So instead now we're like, okay, we want to work and everything, but we're not getting fair stuff and everything. So then women are starting to really decenter men. But at the same time, I think we need to also start remembering we need to decenter work as well. And there's these two competing but go together battles where we need to just say like decenter it all. I don't know what word for it. And divorce the businesses that a lot of these people have created. Okay, I did it too. I had to divorce my first business because my entire identity was inside of that business.
That's not my problem. It's yours.
All right, woman, I'm gonna level with you. You weren't centering your life around a man, your family, or your failed business. You were centering your life around yourself, and not in a way that actually breeds positive growth. Your self-absorbed attitude is so rampant that you blame men, capitalism, and work for the fact that you have no identity. At no point do you even realize that the most common denominator for all of those problems is you. And that's because you're so centered around your own ego that nothing is ever your fault. Now, there's nothing wrong with putting yourself first. That's what men are doing right now. But where men are going their own way and putting in the work to improve themselves physically and mentally, you're clearly not. And that's the flaw in this whole decentering men thing. You're not putting in the work to improve yourself because that requires accountability, which you avoid at all costs. Men are waking up and realizing that they are the ones holding themselves back. They recognize their mistakes, own up to them, and put forth the effort to grow and become better people. And you're just bitter that your business crumbled. It's not the same thing.
And when I was shutting down my business, I felt like my entire life was crumbling because that was my identity. Because I didn't put it in a man, I put it in a business and put it in work instead, which a lot of people do. And, you know, it's really sad to do. Looking back at it now, because yesterday was such a fucking nice day. I went and had a great day. I looked like your unemployed friend on a fucking Tuesday, which I think all business owners should do. And I literally wasn't working at all. And I was like, why the fuck was I doing this last year? Why wasn't I enjoying this? I had such an amazing day. And I was like, oh, it's because I was taking 21 fucking calls a week with clients, and it was barely to keep my head above water. And I was like, oh, I just need to make more money. I just need to do that so I can like pay for things in my life to get done and not have to deal with it. When in reality, I needed to decenter work so I could take care of my life and then do my business. And like, honestly, the whole time I'm not thinking about a man, okay? That's the last thing on my mind personally.
Liar! Liar! Liar!
I am thinking about getting a dog. I will say that one, okay? The dog will be centered in my life. I am fine with that one. But the point is, divorce season is here. We are decentering men. And in decentering men, we also need to remember that we need to decenter business at the same time. That's what my new business is on, because I learned that I had to decenter my identity from business. And so now I get to help other people do that, which is really fun. And I'm so excited to do that.
Nobody cares what you think.
Lady, why are you talking about decentering your business when you closed up shop over a year ago? If that's not decentering something from your life, I don't know what is. It sounds like you decentered everything and forgot to put something with which to focus. You're living a life of a middle-aged loser. You don't have a man, you're unemployed, and instead of doing something useful with your time, you're posting garbage on TikTok to cover for the fact that you're going nowhere. The idea of reprioritizing things in your life only works when, you prioritize something. That's what the men are doing. They're prioritizing themselves and ignoring you because we're sick and tired of the finger pointing, the blatant contradictions, and the double standards. But instead of just sitting around and bitching about how life is unfair, we're actually doing some work. And we're better at figuring out things to do that don't involve lying around in our beds and celebrating the fact that we're unemployed losers on a Tuesday afternoon. And that's gonna do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and leave a couple of comments while you're at it, and share this video so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. So take it easy, gentlemen and gents. I'm gonna make like B1000 and go watch some hardcore UFOs. Thank you so much for checking out the new video, and until next time, peace out, homies.